Margaret even here. Be a warrior, not a warrior. So tonight we're going to talk about dreams and visions. So there are people that have a gift of interpreting dreams. Okay, and I know some of these people. Over the years, I've been able to rely on a couple of them to help me interpret dreams. They've been very accurate, and they do it very fast. Sometimes all you need to do is tell them what the dream was about. Um, there are obviously different types of dreams. There's the average dream, which is just your brain working out things of the day. These can be, can range from really crazy to just really mundane or strange, or just nothing at all. It could be just something that happened during your day. These are not biblical dreams. If you want to check out the meanings of those dreams, you can go to websites like dreamwoods.com. That's a really good one. That's based on decades of psychology and trial and error, finding out what different symbolism meant in people's situations. It's actually a very good resource if you really want to take a look at those types of dreams. But they just help you understand what your brain's processing, and that's not a bad thing. It can be very useful. But biblical dreams have biblical symbolism in them. Okay, and what I mean by that is symbolism that is related to specific parts of the Old Testament or the New Testament, characters like Hebrew characters in them. I know someone that did that once before. I had a dream like that, and there's a lot of animal symbolism. There's a lot of sometimes there's statues, sometimes there's other things. It could be a lot more. I'm just not familiar with myself. I haven't had a lot of experience with these things, only some. So I'll totally admit that. But they can be extremely useful both in your private life, if the dream is specifically about you and your experiences, what you're going through at the moment or going to be doing in the future with your ministry, etc. Or they can also be about larger things like what's coming in the world, what's coming in a nation. There have been many large pastors of large congregations that gave a lot of had a lot of prophetic dreams and shared them, like on television over the last 10 years. So those types of things are common. And God does speak to us through these things, and they are very useful. And having someone that or going to a Christian course, they do exist, to get experience understanding these types of dreams, can help you. The dreams are like anything else. They're not to be shared with others unless you go to God first and you ask Him the timing, you ask Him the people that you want to share it with, and you don't want to freak people out, especially if it's like a prophetic thing that can be negative in the future that you're prepared for in your heart and your mind, but not others. You want to be obedient to God and convey the information when He tells you to, and to the people that He tells you to, just like anything else, just like a prophetic gift, for example. So that's dreams. That's basically dreams. It's important if you want to differentiate the different, between regular dreams and, biblical-based dreams, that are dreams where God is trying to help you understand something. Then watching the video that I have of the Lion and the Bread in an earlier video, and my list here is a really good example. So that one I figured out on my own after several months because I started seeing God do things in my life at the time, and then I went back and I was like, okay, I get what the symbolism was, and so that's a good example of a biblical dream right there, and the interpretation of it, how that was derived. Visions are somewhat different. So visions are God kind of intervening into your life at a time. It can be when you're fasting. It could be when you've been praying a lot and you've been focusing on God. It could be just at a time when God needs you to have a vision. I've had a few visions, only a few, but they were very, very vivid. They were very bright. I'll say that. And it was more like my consciousness was literally kind of brought to another place for a moment. And by a moment, I mean that each of these only lasted about a minute and a half. And I don't have any, history of doing drugs or anything like that. So wasn't having any acid flashbacks or anything. But God definitely showed me things in different situations. Some of them were very prophetic. some of them not. So one of them was before I moved to Washington State. A pastor was praying over me, and God showed me a vision of Mount Rainier. And there were three items at its base that projects, things that I was doing that I thought were important or going to be important, and kind of, and the Mount Rainier kind of exploded, and it's a volcano, and I had climbed Mount Rainier previously, so I've been familiar with that mountain, and it basically knocked these things out of the way, the resulting blast or what have you, and I realized very quickly, immediately, that God was showing me that. Not that the mountain was going to blow up, okay, but necessarily, it was always a possibility with a volcano. But it was obvious to me the items were in front of that thing because that meant that the next season I was going to have in that place, up in that area, was not going to involve these things, and that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. It was a much more difficult ministry than I expected, and there was a lot of spiritual warfare. And at the time, I didn't even realize what spiritual warfare was. So I was battling things, and I didn't have any experience in doing that. But I did reach a lot of people for Christ at the job I had, and in a couple of different churches I was participating in. So there was definitely a lot going on there, but I had to focus on what God was having me do there, which was really spread the gospel to people. And as one prophetic person I met up there said to me, was just occupy that area, tell people my testimonies, tell people about Jesus, tell people about the Holy Spirit, pray for them, that type of thing. So there was a lot of that involved there. And so that was definitely correct. There was also another one that I had while I was there that told me about things that are coming even today. They haven't happened yet. It actually started off with something that was happening at the time, and showing how God was taking me through it and going to help me through that. I might do a whole video on this one at some point, and then something that was going to happen way in the future, way in the future. Hasn't happened yet. And that one I don't share with that many people. And then there was a more recent event that happened during the pandemic, where God, it felt like he literally took my consciousness when I was waking up one morning and brought me to another place. I believe it was heaven. And he had one thing to tell me about something I was praying about there. But the more impressive thing was what I saw for that minute and a half while I was getting that message from him. And it was about my second novel. The message was. And about how I should go to him with every word, as opposed to the first novel, which was, kind of partially me, but mostly him after all the edits were done. And it was a struggle. The second book was different. And so the Lord was basically telling me, give every word to me. Let me, rely on me for everything. So that's what happened there. But it was extremely bright. It was extremely vivid, more than anything I've ever experienced here in this world. I'll never forget it. And it makes everything here look dim and blurry in comparison. So it changed my whole life. That one brief moment, where the Lord had brought me, and there were other things in that vision as well. I might do a vision. I might do a video on that at some point. I'm not sure. I'm going to pray about that. So, it is, like I said earlier, again, with visions, it is important to make sure that you don't share at the wrong time or with the wrong people. Okay, and so that's Dreams and Visions. Thank you for joining me with these. We're going to continue with the fruits of the Spirit later, like tomorrow or the next day. And join me for the Bible study at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday evening. God bless you guys. I'll see you there, and look for the next short